What's up, dudes? Episode 420. I've been really wanting to call it Blaze It. Pardon me, anyone. Okay, let's get going. So you'll find out I managed to find a reason to call it Blaze It today. So I came across this video. I am certainly not acquainted with like archaeological objects, like things of this nature. And he pointed out this, he went through this replica that he's holding of this tablet thing that was found somewhere in Iraq, I believe. And I started looking into it because it got my attention. Let's get to this shape. So it's a map. So opened a bunch of these. Guess it was this one. Okay. So it's a map on the tablet. That's it's the Babylonian map of the world, is what it's called, or some other name. Image of the world, I guess. Found. Let's see, found. Here it is. Sapar, Baghdad. Vilayet. Sapar. Whoa. Sapar. Baghdad. Oh, Sapar, as in some other location. Here. So it's excavated here in Iraq, which, based on the map, looks to be... There it is. I guess it did find it here. So it's over here. Here's the Euphrates. And the map the map says on the tablet, apparently, there's text on it that if we find some of these images, call this Euphrates. And I believe the text divided Babylon divided by Euphrates. Ocean, saltwater. So this is a map. What it has is saltwater, ocean, a salty ocean, bitter water, bitter ocean, something like that, bitter river. That surrounds Babylon, apparently. And then there's a city and a swamp and a channel and then this river and then mountains. And then around this is these like triangular things, and up here was a piece missing. So this item, interestingly, it was missing this piece, And so they couldn't really decipher further, apparently, until the piece was found. And then they found the piece, and the piece says on it, Great Wall. Apparently these say something else, like region, like not as specific. Might be in the video. There's the story. Putting it in there. Let's see. Region, yeah. Some reason it's described as saying region. But then Great Wall Mountain, Salt Sea, Bitter Water, whatever, Bitter Ocean. I believe when they first show it, Bitter River is how he describes it as saying. So I was thinking, well, if it looks like this, it immediately reminded me of the Sudarshan chakra, maybe, or the lotus petal structure. So let me find it. So I opened a bunch of tabs of some things. That's new. This is from the last episode. This is from a previous episode. This will come into play as we go forward. This one, where it has like an inner ring here. So I was thinking maybe this ring was like where the Bitter River was, but it having like things off it like this, and I was just kind of like, I don't know if it makes sense. And then I came across the swamp channel Sousa, whatever Sousa is, which is a name of one of these cities. So it says city, and some of them have names. One of them says Sousa. So, obviously, the Euphrates is here. So, like, it would seem as if Babylon would be around here too. But I had this thought, like, it really reminds me. That's interesting. Crazy. There's something named it over here. Okay, let's get rid of this though. I was thinking, well, what if, because a lot of what's going on here, what if that city, like there's a swamp here, that, let's just say this area was swampy, and then Dwarka was right here. So we've got a Dwarka city and a swamp of an ancient time here. Then we've got a river here. And then we've got this big old circle that it's kind of within of this region. It's like a boundary over here going across, and then just generally cutting, like connecting, not so, because it has like a feed out this way, so it's not so like circular now, but maybe it was at a time where it was more just like rounded. So I'm just like, what if this map is of this area? And just kind of thinking about it, and I don't know, that's what I mean, I don't know the full details to really see how plausible that is, but like, let's just say, hypothetically, something happened in this area and the people left this area and they reestablished somewhere else and they found a river over here and they reestablished over here to a point where they literally use the same names, like America, like New York, Newcastle. I don't know, Newcastle sounds a little basic. New, just like places in the United States that are literally named after places from where people moved from. So they're like, we'll name it the same thing, but the new place of that. But where the old one still exists, maybe over here the people left, let's say, and reestablished elsewhere. And it's far enough back in history where it's hard to tell that that happened. And it just seems because they have the same names that those are the places. And like this river is the Euphrates because they called it the Euphrates after they moved there, kind of thing. Without like it mattering which river it was the one that they're at, and that's the river that is Euphrates, maybe. Just like the names of the towns got renamed, maybe, possibly. Just a thought. Just a thought. Ways that it could like have confused what happened by people moving elsewhere. But so that's why like there's this thing. So we go back here. In the flood currents, there's this eddy that formed there. And I was thinking maybe there was a time the flood happened, but then there was a time where like the entire earth was covered in water. But then at some point it started to expand to a point where some of the continental crust was exposed and the flood ended, where it kind of stably was like established, but effectively there was still a lot of water on the continental landmass that would be more stable in the ocean. So it stayed on the continents, creating a circumstance on the continents that maybe isn't the same as today, where perhaps because there was an eddy here, and then also I was thinking like where this vortex was, maybe it kind of created like a chakra in the location, so it was like energetically high, so it like was high ground energetically and like physically too, before the earth was fully expanded, maybe to a point where maybe the area that was experiencing a current flow like this around it generally, maybe it stably had a current flow around it like this, but exposed terrain with a river cutting through it down to a swamp, where then a channel goes over to like where the river is. So presumably channel is water, swamp, so presumably there's some kind of water connection. So imagine, let's just do this. Pull some reggae. Sorry guys if you don't partake, maybe find it distasteful. My bad, much love. Much love. Okay. I mean, what am I supposed to do on episode 420? But generally, this current path we found recently as well. And like, this boundary here specifically, and maybe ultimately like something around here, I don't know exactly. Something of that nature, where then it generally connected wherever exactly I went through over here. Something of this nature. And then it had a mountain range over here that was generally forming. Maybe it didn't even have these mountains like over that way. May not have existed yet because it formed west to east. So maybe these were still formed because of reasons that we'll get into. Let's just say hypothetically this region could be what the map is actually talking about. Let's just keep looking though. So we've got mountain here, potentially yellow. It's during the Earth expansion, and the Himalayas are pretty late in the process. Whether or not that would have been yet formed is unclear, although it seems like, I guess it would have been based on the description if it was there. So then there's a outflow here in this area. That generally comes from the mountains, multiple directions probably, from like over here. And then Dwarka, interestingly, notice the circle. In order to like continuously form the boundary over here, that this takes a really solid boundary. I almost have to follow it. And then over here, it continues the boundary, and I want to encompass Dwarka. Because Dwarka is not here, not along the continental margin, or whatever, not the, I don't know, above sea level margin. Not above, not here, it's down here. It's over here. We go. So it's like just outside of it, really. Just outside of it. But if we look up Dwarka, ancient Dwarka, let's just say ancient Dwarka built. I think I was generally looking for this. Just go to here and see what it generally says about here we go. Described as largely built on submerged land released by the ocean. So maybe it's kind of like a little chakra there, where there was this like general surrounding current, maybe like here or out here somewhere, hard to say, that had like a wider boundary out. I think I drew it even like down to here before. Unclear. Maybe through Damn it, Arcund area. Something, like a larger boundary so that there's a place where the river, the Bitter River, is just flowing beyond. Like, I'm just going based on the terrain, like over here, over here. I guess up to Tarim Basin region. Kind of, it looks like it fanned out some and just did this kind of thing over here. Which is one of the elements of what's going on here. Having these little triangles off the side of this eddy thing. Bitter River. With a conduit through it going down to a swamp with a current. So if there's a current like this, what I'm thinking is this is going on potentially before the oceans opened enough for this eddy to just empty into this space, because it's pretty much right abutting here, perhaps. So as soon as this space starts to open, it is more like has somewhere to go, I guess, presumably. That's my thought. So maybe this eddy had this reclaimed land that Dwarka was built on as like a little chakra over here for a time. Cause it makes me think, like, I don't know, maybe different stages of the Earth's expansion are different moments in a global war that was going on that goes beyond Dwarka. Dwarka was probably just like the KT boundary attack that caused the most recent change, and everything before that really had other influences, so that Dwarka was there at the KT boundary, and then after the KT boundary it was submerged. I don't know, but I mean, that seems a little odd. But it does have the swamp. The fact there's this swamp here, even today, that probably was further when the Doomshape system was going on, which maybe even relates to things. So then it says Great Wall. Mind you, there's this aspect of my recent research, which I don't think I even opened. The stage 1 and 2, pretty much, where the current is going to here, and then it shifts over to here, and the Indonesian archipelago region physically moves away from this region and goes down over here through this way, energetically getting moved as the Earth expands at that point. But if there's an eddy that has a boundary like this, and then a mountains here, maybe, like, looking at the, like, maybe the mountains were like here, some portion of it was like here in this area. To a point where it's physically atop this material. Like additional layers that land slid out probably in some large quantities as bulk masses moving as one, pretty much. Is kind of what I'm thinking happened. And if that happened, then there would have been a time when there was this huge system of double layers like this, all this material physically atop this. Maybe this wasn't as compressed yet, it was more elongated, so it wasn't as high here, so it wasn't quite as high. But still, if that was there, it could have looked like a, quote, Great Wall in that region, past the mountains, above the river. Just this thing that apparently blocks out the sun. Let's see, let's go to the sun. Great Wall, where the sun is not seen. The Great Wall may be a mountain ridge, or a continental block ridge. That's kind of doing like an ammonite thing. Rather than being adjacent, it's just layering atop it, like to a point where it actually has one segment atop another that then has like a physical structure there that then gets shifted out over to the side to be at the same energy level as the first portion. I think it's possible based on the science, the flood evidence I've accumulated thus far. As ridiculous as people just casually stumbling on my videos may see this to be, it's possible based on from my angle. I don't know about based on things I don't know about, but thus far there are some things about it. And then let's go back here. So we've got these things, then there's Babylon and city, etc. So I said, where, I don't know the story of Babylon exactly. I read my Genesis chapters to the Tower of Babel. Genesis, Babylon. It doesn't, I didn't read it so thoroughly as to be able to actually, like, if we go to here, this is the account of, and it's sons, and this is after. So if we go back a little bit, covenant with Noah, sons of Noah, and after the flood, Noah lived. And then this is the account. It kind of just transitions into something that is like, just here are some people in this lineage. Cush was the father of Nimrod, who became a mighty warrior on the earth. I understand this is a single translation. I don't want to put too much weight on it, but well. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. That is why it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. The first centers of his kingdom were Babylon, Uruk, Akkad, Calneh, and Shinar. From that land he went to Assyria. Okay, so there is Babylon. And then sons. Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As people moved eastward, let's say they moved here, but lived over here, where current took them that way. That took them generally to the eddy, some of them. Where they then, at some point, got dry land, maybe. Just a thought in that regard. I know it also, if we look at this, from the east or in the east. So from the east is not the same as moving eastward. So it's totally, it could be either direction at that point. So they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. Plain, so that's a good sign. Like, this is pretty plainer. This general area is pretty plainer. Let's see. 600. Guess it goes down pretty low there. This area is pretty. Probably a plain. They said to each other, "Come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly." Bricks, they used brick instead of stone and tar for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth." But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, "If, as one people, speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do..." Oh my god. I'm in this storm right now, Debbie. Debbie's here. Getting tornado warnings and flood warnings all day. If, as one people speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so that they will not understand each other. So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it was called Babel, because the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there, the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. I don't know. Is the Tower of Babel in... Where is the Tower of Babel built? It didn't explicitly say Babylon? Okay. At the very heart of the vibrant metropolis of Babylon. It is what is today Iraq. So let's just keep going with this line of reasoning. Whether or not this is Babylon, let's just keep going with this line of reasoning. Where would Babylon be then? And I said, well, what? Didn't it, like, I don't know, didn't Babylon, I don't really know what happened to Babylon. Babylon. Like, did they get destroyed? Punish Babylon for its wrongdoings in Zion. Symbolized as the ultimate judgment of evil, with the city being thrown down and never to be found again. Okay. Point is, I was saying, where is Mohenjo-Daro? And it's in here, like, if we specifically go like this, hereabouts, have Dwarka here, swamp, channel over here, basically to go over this way, like a flow that was related to this flow, but while this was still closed, so that it was basically a channel that connected to the ring, and then the swamp connected to the channel. So channel, swamp, Dwarka, Mohenjo-Daro region, I don't know. Maybe the Tower of Babel, where Babylon is never to be found again. Maybe the Tower of Babel specifically, because of something I was thinking about. So then I started looking into this. I'm like, what is going on with Mohenjo-Daro? And I came across this paper. The cities of the Indus civilization were expansive and planned with large-scale architecture and sophisticated Bronze Age technologies. Despite these hallmarks of social complexity, the Indus lacks clear evidence for elaborate tombs, individual aggrandizing monuments, large temples, and palaces. Its first excavators suggested that the Indus civilization was far more egalitarian than other early complex societies, and after nearly a century of investigation, clear evidence for a ruling class of managerial elites has yet to materialize. The conspicuous lack of political and economic inequality noted by Mohenjo-Daro's initial excavators was basically correct. This is not because the Indus civilization was not a complex society, rather it is because there are common assumptions about distributions of wealth, hierarchies of power, specialization, and urbanism in the past that are simply incorrect. The Indus civilization reveals that a ruling class is not a prerequisite for social complexity. So I've been watching videos on this, some things that I like coming to mind that I should probably mention. Someone said no signs of like religion, essentially. They have bathrooms, they have running water that is built into the construction of like the city itself, so that water could run by and gather things of like waste and transport. and had like a waste baskets kind of thing found. Things that sound pretty, like, wow, that's advanced. That's advanced. They had that stuff back then? Like, this is like 5000 BC or something? And there were no signs of war. No signs of no signs of like large scale war, but signs of like people fighting and healing from some seeming like wound from an altercation. I guess is how they interpret it. Is how I interpreted what they were saying, is that there is some type of evidence of like something going on, whether it's a war as we know it. But mind you, this is at a time when there's like really advanced things going on, like rising Dwarka from the ocean, practically building it in a day, mentally, according to the text. Like, there are things going on simultaneously, and they don't have a apparent god. That makes me say maybe, what if, instead of not having an apparent god, they just had a ruthless leader who didn't let them at all. There was no questions. This is not allowed here, to a point of like I was reading Genesis. That kind of gives credence to that. That was my thought. What if they were just so harsh that they just were like, that's not allowed here. You're not allowed to worship them over there, because they were like on the same planet at the same time doing these other things, and maybe Babylon was like its own thing that was more like our ways. More like our ways, like pooping. Are we sure we even poop if we're in the optimal state? What if the pyramids and things of that nature are like this megaliths are like energetic sources that feed the body without waste, and they got waste they're managing? Are you sure they're doing it right? Are we sure that someone in the midst of this advanced time in history that was behaving on a level comparable to where we are now wasn't Babylon? Because a lot of videos and things are like, wow, they're like, I mean, it's impressive. They had these things. And I'm like, that sounds like the things that lead to the things we have going on today, that really lead to what's going on. Do you guys know the market's about to crash? It seems that's what I'm hearing. The market's down all in Japan right now. I saw Korea also. Let's see what Zero Hedge is saying. They're probably a good spot to see any present. Of course, they got this premium thing going on. We'll see. Israel, though, just bombing Beirut. Fuck it. We'll just bomb a city. Who cares? Killing someone in Iran. Iran's like, we have nukes, by the way. Just a heads up. People are like, are they gonna respond? I'm wondering if that was their response. They're just like, dude, this is We are going to respond harshly. And then they just tell the world, we have nukes now. That's our response. And just not physically respond? I don't know. I mean, that would be a pretty... That just... like, people are saying Erdogan was, like, threatening Israel, but he was talking to Turkish people. And he just said what Turkey could do. It's like if someone's bullying someone else, and then someone standing next to the bullying someone else is like, I could interject here, you know, and they're like, they threatened me. That's what's going on. Just like big bodies that move slow but fight just like kids on a playground. With consequences way worse than kids on a playground. Although maybe those consequences ripple into these consequences, I don't know. So I was thinking maybe Mohenjo-Daro, and then maybe Harappa is also, so like the whole Indus culture potentially that was here, the Harappan culture, I believe, that doesn't really, it's like an enigma. It has its own language. Imagine God comes in and shuffles up their languages so that no one can speak each other's languages and gives them their own language. And here's your own. I don't know how exactly that would work. Now you speak in French. Oh, parlez-vous français? Oh, I don't even notice the difference. I can't. Je ne... I got nothing. I don't know how that would work, but maybe, like, physically a new language was born also that is then used in this area, and it's not been translated yet because the languages were confused, and it's like really confused there. I don't know. That sounds interesting enough to like continue to pursue all the potentials around it. I imagine archaeologists are just like, how ridiculous. This is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Maybe, but maybe not. Do you know what considering potentials offers? Have you ever played like Magic and you have one card? You don't got many options. So like something happens in the game and you're like, well, I gotta play a land. Your turn. Sorry, anyone who's never played Magic. I don't really, it's been a while since I played Magic, but I can still remember it enough to, like, people that do play Magic know what I'm saying. I don't have any cards left, so I got nothing to play, but if some, like, unexpected card comes down and I got a whole hand of potentials, I'm like, oh, this one works well here. Boom. Oh shit. Us, you know, point being, that can't happen without the potentials. So if we don't even like allow them to exist and be heard out, really to be heard out, to actually become potentials and not just be like hands or cards in a deck over on the side that no one's allowed to touch because we're playing with these cards right now. We're just playing with these. I just like this. I don't want to play it. I just want to look at it and love it. Oh yeah. Plate tectonics. Ooh, I like how you say continental drift, baby. Okay, pardon me. Babylon. Maybe though? Let's do this. Oh yeah, I can't change the size of this. So then I was thinking, let's keep going. Maybe like down here, because India goes to a point. Like this area maybe was one of the triangles. So triangle. Or smaller like here. And then maybe something over here that's hard to make out, but based on the Eastern Ghats, which have distinct divisions in them, apparently. Like this. Like maybe based on these divisions, I don't know. Then over here, we got this one. Like it's generally going up this way to over here, and it's generally going over this way to over here, and then across to have another one there. So we got another one there. We got one over here. We got one over here. That's 3 if we just count this area as one, just because it's the Great Wall. That's 4. There's 8 of them, apparently. So, Great Wall. Then we would have maybe this one at the tip of India. And then those two. So pretty much these 4. Or this one, pseudo this one, depending on if we just kind of interpret some region here. It's hard to say over here. Potentially, this is kind of backwards. I was looking over here, like where another. Guess it could go more off that way. Because it would basically be, India would have been up along here with Madagascar in there. So space about that far. And then maybe there, another one. So one region potentially, another region where water was going around it, but not quite on top of it. I don't know if this even makes any sense based on the elevations there. some potential. That goes down. That would have to be like the wall. It would have to be over here, pretty much. Like the whole area. Maybe even like the whole up to over there. Basically the Middle East area, especially. I don't even know what countries I'm calling the Middle East here. It's just Iran, mostly. Like, yeah, Saudi Arabia is definitely the Middle East, too. So, no. What's this going? Okay. From Gideon Carrillo. What else was there though? It's like the tower. Let's look at Mohenjo-daro. I should look at it real quick. Like, could that be a tower? Because if you read the text in Genesis, tower. They said to each other, "Come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly. Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise," so like in pretty much in defense to like set up shop so that we can kind of like establish like they're trying to maybe do something that they don't know how to do, is what I'm getting at. Come, let us build this so that we may make a name for ourselves. But the Lord came down. So I'm saying, what if it was a tower? I don't know. There's some things going on here. If we can get an overview. Like it had a pool, like water, so they had water somewhere to go. Oh shit! I hope my power doesn't go out. I gotta end this soon then, before the power goes out. They have these skeletons here that died somehow, which I guess we'll have to get into later. They have this thing. So this thing was described as like as a naked like teenager, I believe is like what it's described as. Dancing girl. There's her pouting lips, an insolent look in the eyes. She's about 15 years old, I should think, not more, but she stands there with bangles all the way up her arm and nothing else on. A girl perfectly, for the moment, perfectly confident of herself in the world, There's nothing like her, I think, in the world. Imagine now that you are a teenager in Babylon, and let's just say, being naked, you are aware of it. Just like Adam and Eve, like, they became aware. You are aware. But you are made to dress like this. And literally, the society is so, like, sexually oriented, maybe? That and like lavish living in ways, like certain orientations of being that are maybe not, that are more like Babylon sounding. That's my point. Like, it could be that this girl, the dancing girl, was depicted as she was, but including her facial expression, which is, I don't want to be fucking doing this, insolent and pouting, but then like people are like, oh, perfectly for the moment, confident, you know, just like, this is like exasperation. I don't want to be doing this kind of thing. That's how I feel, especially when it's got this kind of interpretation. The modern science tends to be totally wrong about things to a point where it puts it backwards, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was pretty backwards in that sense too. Like, this is a perfectly functional high, like, there's no ruling class, but they have, like, it's Babylon. Maybe, I don't know. And then, like, maybe they got sent away from this region to the 8 regions, like over here, over here, over here, over here, which was one of them here, so over here, somewhere over there, I guess. And like, that was part of some biblical thing. I don't know. There's so many details that, I mean, dear God. Trying to do it alone is certainly a nearly impossible task, or really impossible, but at the same time, like, it is what it is. People don't want to, like, look at it in the paradigm I'm looking at it in. What can I do? I'm not gonna look at their paradigm. They don't know what they're talking about, guys. There's some details missing. Sure, I'm missing lots, but I started from the ground up. Started from the bottom, now we here. Not the other way around. So, I mean, it might sound ridiculous, but the truth ain't what modern science is saying, so... You wanted to sound... I'm just looking at the shape as I'm talking to. Seems almost like this channel, like, switched sides. The current was going this way, all out of here, and going this way, and it shifted over and went out this way, but then along this boundary and just filled this area. Probably as this eddy drained, it really drained then. I also had a thought. What if, like, Sodom and Gomorrah were built using this potentially abandoned Tower of Babel location? Like, it's unclear in the text here if they, like, scattered them from there over all the earth, so, like, they aren't there anymore. But maybe they return back at the time of Sodom and Gomorrah. I don't know that story well enough. Yeah, so the Sodom and Gomorrah, if we read this chapter 18, let's go here. So this Abraham basically welcomes in the Lord, and the Lord says Sarah will become pregnant and etc. But then when the men got up to leave, they looked down toward Sodom, and Abraham walked along with them to see them on their way. Then the Lord said, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? Abraham will surely become a great and powerful nation, and all nations on earth will be blessed through him. For I have chosen him so that he will direct his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is right and just, so that the Lord will bring about for Abraham what he has promised him." Then the Lord said, "The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is so great and their sin so grievous that I will go down and see if what they have done is as bad as the outcry that has reached me. If not, I will know." And then he goes on to basically say, if I find 50 righteous people, and then Abraham gets him to go down to 45, and he says, I will not destroy it. Once again, he spoke to him, what if only 40? If for the sake of 40, I will not do it. And then, for the sake of 10, I will not destroy it. When the Lord had finished speaking with Abraham, he left, and Abraham returned home. So if the Lord finds 10 righteous in Sodom and Gomorrah, he will not destroy it. How many bodies were found at Mohenjo-Daro? That's 37. Okay, I thought, wouldn't it be crazy if after telling that story, we looked it up, and it was like 9 bodies. "9 years excavations. 3 miles in circuit, total of some 37. As if, like, the other people somehow were, like, materialized and the righteous had their skeletal remains left. I don't know. But there were 9 and not 10, so it happened anyway. That's what I thought would be crazy and interesting, but... Although maybe there's also the aspect I heard they didn't all die simultaneously. Let's just say 9. Another celebrated group of victims consists of 9 skeletons that lay in strangely contorted attitudes and crowded together. Which maybe in a city of unrighteous Babylon, the just would congregate and find one another, but then still meet this fate. I don't know. Sorry, guys, if this is a little too out there, this episode. It's really product is some stuff, some product, really, some goods, maybe, and some thoughts, some knowledge too. Let's see if there's tar. Mohenjo-daro tar bricks. Pretty sure. Brick and tar. I mean, it might just be tar here, but at least that indicates they use brick and tar. Another thing I found of interest is they trade, apparently they traded with people around them, like outside of the Harappan people, but like Mesopotamia, apparently they traded with Mesopotamia to the point where Mesopotamia had their goods or something like they weren't found distributed at both places. Like one side was almost like doing a certain like business, like sleight of hand kind of thing, to the point where they, like, one thing about this civilization is they are known to have farmed lapis, what is it, lazuli, that one. Lapis lazuli. Not Babylon, though. Lapis lazuli at, trade networks linked this culture with related regional cultures and distant sources of raw materials, including lapis lazuli and other materials for bead making. So another thing is they're known for, like, artistic things. Not to say artistic things are, like, Babylonian, but, like, in a vacuum, if that's, like, the whole of what's going on, it could become very propaganda-driven and not truth-driven and Babylonian, where people are like, artistic and blah blah, as long as they don't go against the like doctrine of the area that is just so overwhelming that it's not even recognizably present when looking at it, because it's just, there's no religion, there's no anything of certain, like, that's just what we said, don't do it. I don't know, maybe because one of the things is they traded lapis lazuli because they could farm it there, apparently, to the point where they didn't just get it because they wanted it. They just went in and mined it as a trade mechanism because they knew they could trade it, which to like a modern society sounds, oh, that's good. But then at the same time, it's like, so you're saying they were just getting things that they didn't really need in hope of trading for something, which, I mean, that's reminiscent of like the way society is now in some ways, where it's just getting all these resources with no fucks. It's like they're mining, they're mining, and then I said, "Where is this tablet at?" That's where this tablet. Where is this tablet at? Sapar, Baghdad, or whatever. If we go here. Okay, so the tablet is here. Or was found here. Not sure. Where is it? Where is it? At the site of modern. I found a Spar blue lapis lazuli door gate. Yeah, this one. Ishtar Gate. The Ishtar Gate. The Ishtar Gate. Of Babylon. Mind you, there is a second Babylon. Support. This is considered Neo-Babylonian. This map is from Neo-Babylonian, so new. So maybe the old Babylonian was over here, and then something happened where it got moved over here to become the Neo-Babylonian. Although there must be a old Babylonian period that is probably not associated with the Indus culture here, although maybe it's simultaneous. But the point is, what's interesting about this gate was the 8th gate to the inner city of Babylon. It was constructed 569 BC by order of King Nebuchadnezzar II on the north side of the city. So there is a Babylonian gate in Iraq. The original structure was a double gate with a smaller frontal gate and a larger and more grandiose secondary posterior section. The walls were finished in glazed bricks, mostly in blue, with animals and deities also made up of colored bricks in low relief at intervals. Deities. That kind of goes against the Indus thing, although maybe it was after the KT boundary circumstances led to some change where they could actually be more deity friendly. I don't know. I'm probably just making stuff up here. It just looks so good. With the swamp and channel. And not so good over here. Like, I don't... What mountains? Like, over here. Let's just pick something. Whatever. Euphrates. It doesn't really make sense over here, I don't think. Maybe because haven't thought about it closely. I mean, there certainly was an eddy here and an eddy here. So maybe there was another eddy here, I guess. Like there. That had a boundary generally here. I guess it's possible that the general ring of the Bitter Sea was here. It would be more like reasonable just for where the modern Euphrates is. But I think it just fits so well over here. It's just kind of, even if it's not it, it might be kind of like how this, I thought it was this, and then I thought, well, maybe it's this one. And maybe it leads me to a subtle one over here that I would never notice. Just a thought. But let's see. So Mohenjo-Daro is thought to have experienced some kind of burning, some kind of high temperature. Mohenjo-Daro. How did they die? How did they did? How did they did? Some believe destroyed by invading it. Radioactive. Some people suggest that there's like a radioactivity to the bodies, although apparently the evidence of this that's why I find it like it's gotta be a story that is known. I mean, Sodom and Gomorrah, people were burned. Although I saw a pretty good argument of where Sodom and Gomorrah was recently. I'm not even sure if this would fit a Babylon story exactly. And then Harappa maybe would be like the other one, like one here, or like Harappa up there or something. Some other cities, possibly some undiscovered. That would be interesting. Like if it was there, then and these weren't all discovered. Like if we say Indus Valley Civilization, ancient ruin map. Because there were a lot over along the side that would be over here, for example. I don't know why they would not be there. Just like, could it be covered in basalt? Possibly some. But it seems like this would have been after the KT boundary. Like as the earth is expanding, this is flowing here. Also, there's salt water here, fresh water here in this lake. Mount Kailash over here. Om Parvat somewhere over here. Pretty much opposite it. Across this salt lake. That's at this boundary of this potential bitter river. So there's a boundary of this bitter river that has a salt lake over here and then a fresh lake, as if it was like, actually a boundary even. Okay, I gotta go before the power kicks out and this whole video is kaputs. I don't know, this was probably not something that will, I don't know. I just don't know. What I do know is there's a lot to look into to really see how plausible any of this is in this. This is why I avoid this type of topic, because I'm not really ready for it. Like, I haven't mapped the totality of the flows. It's probably would help me though. At this point, it looks like it might actually give me direction to really look through scripture and other sources, especially Hindu texts and other things like cuneiform, Egyptian, whatever I can find that archaeological, like science-y evidence has rigorous detail. There's probably other details also. I mean, there certainly are. I didn't finish what I was saying though about this door. What's important about this is it's not actually, or this gate. The roof and doors of the gate were made of cedar, according to the dedication plaque. The bricks in the gate were covered in a blue glaze meant to represent lapis lazuli, a deep blue semi-precious stone that was revered in antiquity due to its vibrancy. The blue glazed bricks would have given the facade a jewel-like shine. Now imagine you are a society that farms lapis lazuli and value it, and you lose access to that area to a point that you make a gate out of bricks like you made the other place, but without lapis lazuli, but looking like it, because in memory, maybe even of better times, what it brought, its value and place in the society is this like thing of value. It's kind of like, again though, like reminiscent of, I don't know, those types of movies like Avatar, like going to some planet to mine the like precious thing, like Dune. Like, is it necessarily advanced? I don't know. Like, just look advanced when we're in this society, and this is all we know. Alright, peace guys, thanks for hanging. I gotta go. I'm tired. Power's going out sooner or later. Peace. Blaze it.